Biervo, thank you so much for joining me today. How you guys doing? Looky here. I got a controversial video. 10 reasons Australia is better than America. Tristan Kuhn. Check him out, link down below. This guy has some awesome videos about Australia and traveling there and stuff. So go check him out. Check out his channel. This ought to be spicy.
And today I'm going to be going over 10 reasons why I think Australia is better than America. So the first reason why I think Australia is better than America is because their public transport is so much better than it is in the US. In Australia, you can pretty much get wherever you want in any city.
Sorry, I had to pause to reconfirm that I've never seen this video. I'm kind of surprised I've never seen this video. Sorry. Better public transportation. Yes.
City, any suburb, between any cities, just through their public transport. Additionally, their public transport is fast, it's clean, it's nice, it's a pleasant experience, and I can't say the same with American public transport.
You definitely can't say it's clean.
Maybe if you live in a big city in America, like New York, Chicago, maybe San Francisco,
Still can't say it's clean.
LA, then you might have decent public transport. But even then, there are places that are still hard to get to. I really enjoy having the freedom to go pretty much wherever I want in Australia without having to own a car. Or I should
Anywhere in Australia. You guys did inform me that there is a train from Sydney to Perth, which is kind of crazy. And I guess it goes to Darwin as well. That's pretty insane. So could you go to any major city just by train?
say I can go pretty much to anywhere of like civilized Australia. I can't go out to like the bush.
Not the uncivilized Australia.
Like out into the outback without a car. The next reason why I think Australia is better than the US is because the wages here on average are much higher. Maybe not like the top salaries like doctors and lawyers, they actually get paid a little bit.
This is actually interesting because if you look at what he's saying right there.
Less here, but if you have an average to lower salary or you're working a minimum wage job, you're probably gonna get paid much better.
That's the interesting thing. It's genuinely pretty interesting, huh? Like for certain people, you make more in America. For other people, you make more in Australia. And it's, you know, it skews like if you're toward the entry level common job, you get paid more in Australia.
Here, the minimum wage is about 16, 17 US dollars an hour, which is double that of the US currently. And I have an American friend here who is looking.
I have to say, because I'm always like keeping it real, maybe playing a little devil's advocate even. While the minimum wage is indeed $7.25, nobody gets paid that. I'm just keeping it real. You'd have to try pretty hard to find a job that pays $7.25, which I guess means the minimum wage isn't really, I mean, it almost might as well be zero. Like, it's not really doing anything right now. It's been at $7.25 for like a decade. But any job, even working at McDonald's, you're going to get paid at least $11 an hour. And to be honest, if you just try this hard, you can find a job for $17 to $20 an hour. If you try that hard, I'm just being honest. But with that said, it kind of means the minimum wage is like not doing anything, you know? Which seems bad. So I think the minimum wage should be raised to at least bump up, you know, maybe like $13 an hour, something like that, you know? Seems reasonable. I don't know, just kind of pull it out of my butt, but it seems reasonable.
Dollars an hour, which is double that of the US currently. And I have an American friend here who is looking for a job, and the exact same job that she's about to get out of grad school here is paying about a time and a half more than what it would pay her back in the States.
A time and a half? That's a huge amount.
Now this next thing I absolutely love about
more than double
Australia, and that is if you go to pretty much any public park here, there will be free grills. And I'm not talking about those like crappy like metal boxes that you can put charcoal in America. These are like good electric grills that are like cleaned, like high quality, like maintained.
What? And
you can go there, light them up, do like a full-on barbecue, like cook burgers, cook steaks. You don't need to bring your own charcoal. It is such a nice experience, and frankly, just all their...
That's so nice. I'm almost like suspicious of it. Like, why? Why do they provide that? That's such, you know, it feels like, you know how it's kind of suspicious if someone came up to you on the street and they were just like, hey, here's $20. You're like, why? I don't trust this. Something weird's going on here. That's the feeling I get when I see this.
cool. It is such a nice experience, and frankly, just all their parks here are nicer than they.
Does it have something to do with like preventing wildfires? Because an electric grill, I assume, is going to be significantly less of a risk of a fire than a charcoal grill. Could that be a factor as to why, like, they're providing this amenity? That just seems kind of extravagant. It's like, what? A free electric grill just out there for anybody? That's so cool.
You don't need to bring your own charcoal. It is such a nice experience, and frankly, just all their parks here are nicer than they are in America. So that is another thing that Australia does better than America. Now, something
You know, a lot of people here in America, unfortunately, don't respect the park, you know, especially like if you're in a lot of nice parks are kind of in the middle of the city and people just don't respect them. Like they litter on them sometimes, you know, you'll have people just like teenagers like playing football in the middle of the playground. You know, but I have no problem with teenagers having fun at the park or whatever, but I'm just saying like where the toddler area is. This has literally happened to me, you know what I mean? I'm trying to push my son on the swing and it's like some kids are causing mayhem. And you know, I don't know. So yeah, that's interesting.
that I didn't even realize.
Now that I'm a dad, I really respect these types of qualities. You know, having a grill and a nice playground and at the park,
Is that
clean park.
I didn't like about America until I visited Australia and some other countries is we have sales tax that is like after the price, like after the sticker price. That is like super weird. Like pretty much every country on earth, including Australia, will put the tax, the GST, sales tax, whatever you want to call it, they'll include that in the sticker price. The main reason why I hate this is I don't like using cash in America. I pretty much never use cash because everything comes out to like weird, like, you know, you don't want a bunch of pennies and change. So to avoid getting change, I only pay with card. However, here, like if something's $10, I can just hand over a $10 bill. It's something in America that like no one's wanting to change, or like probably no one even realized they dislike it, but
Yeah, Americans don't even realize this. I feel like it is weird. It's kind of like we're in our own bubble and we didn't know there's another way to do that. Because when you hear that, it's so obvious that the advertised price should be the total price. You shouldn't be slapped with another fee.
when you go to another country, you'll come back and you'll realize it is just an inconvenience that you've just been used to living with. All right, number 5 is something that I didn't even know existed until I came.
And it kind of feels like it should be illegal. Like the merchant should have to, you know, advertise the total cost. They're the ones paying the sales tax. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, they're sending that money to the IRS or whoever, the local government, state government, and not me. You know, so why am I having to secretly pay it at the cash register? This definitely seems wrong.
To Australia, and that is chicken salt and chicken chips. Pretty much, if you order French fries, or chips as they call them here, at most restaurants, they are gonna put chicken salt on them. This is
Really? Okay, I did not know it was the default salt.
different than regular salt, and it is so freaking good.
I
Like
freaking love it. I have some still.
it is the best invention, I don't know, the best thing since sliced bread. It's like salt, but has some flavoring to it, and it's so good, and it fits so well on chips. I also think there's some other things you could put it on. I kind of want to try like putting it on like my popcorn. I don't know, what else is it good on? If you know, please comment down below. If you want to try.
I actually need to break it out. It's right there in the cupboard. I know where it is. It's in the cupboard next to the garlic salt. I like garlic salt a lot as well. I like salt. I like salt. I like garlic salt. I like chicken salt. You know, and the chicken salt. I need to break that out.
Buy this in America, so I don't know if they have this at grocery stores. I've never seen it, but I did look, and it's on Amazon. So if you want to get it off Amazon, links below, check it out. I promise you won't regret it. The chicken salt is so good. Now this next one is a bit more serious, and I want to take some time to talk about it, and that is their healthcare here. Australia, like pretty much every other first world country on earth besides America, has a universal
Even some not first world countries.
healthcare system. And I know this is a point of debate in America, but I can say from living here that I truly believe this is a better system than what we have in America. Before coming here, I don't know if that's something I would have said. And there's a couple reasons for this. The first is you're just not worried about how much it's going to cost when going to the doctor, and you're not going to avoid the doctor for medical care you need because of the expense. When I was 17, I broke my back. I had 3 fractures. I went to the doctor to get an x-ray. I went to another doctor, then I got an MRI. Each time I did that, it cost several $100s, and then the MRI was like $500. And then after that, I went to physical therapy for like 6 months. Again, each time I go, costing a bunch of money, and at the end of it, my back wasn't healed. Eventually, they recommended I get this scan as like an MRI where they like...
That's really the nightmare scenario here in America, where you fall into this vortex. You know, healthcare is not a perfect science, as incredible as it is, the science of it all. It's not perfect, you know, so sometimes, like what he just said, you can go through the whole regimen and still not be healed. And then what? Like, really? You've paid $10,000 for something and it didn't work? You know, I mean, if that was a car, you'd expect your money back.
Inject fluid into you, forgot what it's called, but that cost my family like another like $800.
That's why the whole money thing just doesn't really work with healthcare. There's a million reasons why, but it just doesn't really work.
And at the end of the day,
Not to mention, most importantly, just ethically, like, why should someone who's poor not have access, if we can afford it as a society, to provide them access to healthcare? Why? It's stupid. I think for the sake of a more unified country, a more perfect union, if you will, we should provide healthcare to the people.
I just kind of moved on with my life because it pained me and it like was a struggle in my mind each time.
And this is my bode for president. Okay? I'm announcing my campaign. 2028.
When I went to the doctor, I knew it was going to be costing my parents hundreds of dollars. Like, they spent thousands of dollars on my back, and frankly, it still hurts me every single day. And
Damn.
Why I haven't gone to the doctor to see why that is ever since I got that scan is because I just don't want to put more money into
Yep.
it. I'm sure you have an example like this in your life of a reason, like you didn't
Sunken cost.
go to the doctor because of an expense, and I just don't think that should be the case.
I mean, it is kind of like it's like a car, you know? It's like you have I used to have a junker old car, and I'd go get it fixed, and it would only be fixed for like a month, and then it would break, you know. And there were a lot of things wrong with the car, and they kept diagnosing it. Oh, you know, it's because of your radiator. You need a new radiator. Then they do that, and it, you know, you just keep spending money on it. And for your body, it just doesn't. It shouldn't be that way.
I'm not from a poor family. Like, I'm from a very like typical like middle class family that lives in a suburb. We had good insurance, and it was still something that was a struggle for me. I could go on and on about why it's so much better, but 2 other minor reasons is, one, like the #1 cause of bankruptcy in America is financial bills. Like, I don't think anybody should have to go bankrupt for
He corrected it. It said medical bills, but that is so messed up.
getting sick. No joke, I have had many non-Americans say to me that in some ways they think America is a third world country because of their healthcare system. And what first world country should someone be able to go to financial ruin, like their whole life flipped upside down, due to something that they couldn't even control? I can make a whole video about this, but I'm gonna have to cut this here. So the next one is the drinking age.
I mean, as far as when people say America's a third world country because of that, it's like that policy does feel archaic to me. You know, it's a little bit barbaric, but the care itself is not third world. So I feel like it's just nuanced. You know, like the quality of care is good. It's very good here in America. It's the system as far as access to it that's pretty busted and therefore kind of archaic.
Which, like most of the world, is 18 here. And to me, that seems much more reasonable. I mean, most people argue like, oh,
It used to be 18 here in America. Did he say that? Sorry, I was babbling on.
make a whole video about this, but I'm gonna have to cut this here. So the next one is the drinking age, which, like most of the world, is 18 here. And to me, that seems much more reasonable. I mean, most people argue like, oh, you can enlist in the military, you can do this, you can do that, but you can't drink. And yes, that's all true, but also, why is it that in American culture, it's like kind of socially acceptable to drink once you're 18? Like, once you go to college, people expect that you drink. Like, most parents, if they know that their kid is drinking in college, like, they don't get mad, like, they don't care because they're 18, they're 19, they're 20. I just find it weird that the mindset of America is like,
Yeah, that is a very bizarre thing. It's a very bizarre thing because on one hand, it's expected of you. It's not, I mean, that might be a little exaggeration. It's, you know, everybody knows. It's an open secret. But at the same time, if you get caught, then that can really get you in some trouble. And that just is weird, right? That's weird. Everybody knows college kids are drinking, but then if you get caught, if you're the one that gets caught, then you can, I mean, you can risk all sorts of things, you know? I don't know exactly. I'm sure the penalties all vary from college to college and state to state, but, you know, I mean, I could see maybe even getting kicked out of the college or something, and it's like, really? Everybody's drinking, you know? So it's just kind of ridiculous. And it used to be 18 here in America. It feels like one of those things where they just keep moving the age up. I mean, they've only moved the drinking age up, as far as I know. Well, now I'm kind of curious. Was it always 18? This is kind of fun. I never thought about this. You know, before 18, what was it? I don't know if this is even interesting to you guys, but 1776, no minimum drinking age. Kind of makes sense. You know, Wild West type vibes. 1933, most states set 21 as their drinking age after Prohibition ended. 1970, many states lowered their drinking age to 18, 19, or 20 because the voting age dropped to 18. That's a bit of history I did not know. I didn't know that at all. I actually feel like, frankly, that just proves my point totally invalid. I was going to say it feels like they're always just moving the age up. You know, it's one of those things where they just say, oh, it's dangerous, it's bad for you, move it up. You know, and it never gets moved down, but actually it was moved down. In 1970, it's not even that long ago. That's a pretty funny rationale. You know, we've moved the voting age down, therefore, you know, obviously we want people drunk when they're voting. So we need them to legally be able to drink so they can get drunk before they vote. No, I guess the rationale is like, if people are voting, then they're an adult and they should be able to drink. But then in 1984, they raised it to 21. And now they've raised cigarettes to 21. It should be 18. That's my opinion.
I find it weird that the mindset of America is like, oh, it's okay to drink whenever you're 18, or some people even less than that, yet the law says 21. I don't know. I think we're a little bit backwards in that.
Yeah, honestly, here in the country, I learned this after I moved over here to the country of America. A lot of parents don't even care if their kids are drinking at 16, 17, you know, high school. They're like, just do it safely. They're like, don't drive. Like, you're not driving. But if you drink, you know, I mean, I understand, but don't drive. That's kind of the mindset. And it's kind of funny because, like, you know, when you live more in the city, it's a little more strict, you know. But out in the country of America, it's a little bit more just like, yeah, go get drunk in the cornfields, you know. There's nothing else to do. We understand that there's nothing else to do, so we know you're going to do that.
If someone wants to defend the 21 rule, I'd love to hear it in the comments. Next one is super basic, and yes, the U.S. is so...
Their brains are still developing, and blah, 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 blah. Sorry. I mean, that is a reasonable argument.
Backwards in this, and that is that we don't use the metric system. The metric system is like meters, kilometers, Celsius, like, I don't know, grams, kilograms, all that stuff, liters. However, in America, we use, I think it's called the imperial system. That's like the Fahrenheit, miles, I don't know, ounces, pounds, cups, pints, quarts, gallons, all that stuff. Pretty much every country has recognized the metric system as being better and converted to that system. Besides the US, we're really stubborn in that.
Oh, the US knows it's better. We just don't care. We like to be different.
So yeah, I think it's about time America switched.
I think it is, as much as I mean, I was kind of saying that in jest, but like at this point, it almost does feel like it's just a part of our culture, you know? Like it feels very ingrained in our culture, almost. And this is a stretch. I know it's a stretch, but it's almost like you look at countries in Europe that have had a language like German or something in Germany. Would switching to English in Germany be, you know, I mean, English is the most, you know, common language in the world. Or maybe Chinese. I don't freaking know. I assume English is. Obviously, English as far as like Europe and North America and all these regions in the world. It's the kind of the common denominator. It's what most people learn as their second language, if not their first language. So like you could say, just change it to your first language. But they're not going to do that in Germany because German is part of their culture. And at this point, for better or for worse, and yes, it's for worse, the imperial system feels too deeply ingrained in our culture, especially because like something like football, American football, the field is 100 yards. What are you going to do? Make it 100 meters? You're going to make it 92 meters? That doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And, there's all these, it's like, the 6 foot tall dude, that's a tall guy, I don't know. I just don't see it happening. Although if you are like in a science class in America, you do use metric. Okay? A lot of people probably don't know that. But if you're in a science class, you're using metric. It's definitely like the science, the more scientific system, obviously.
Over to the metric system. All right, this next one is like the icing on the cake for Australia, and that is superannuation. If you don't know what that is, it's pretty much like a mandatory 401k that is invested and you get it when you're old. So I already talked about.
But you don't fund it, your employer does. Your employer funds 100% on top of your standard salary. That's worded a little bit funny. It's not like they contribute 100% of your salary, but yeah, the employer funds it. Unlike a 401k where it's here in America where you match typically, like it's like, okay, I'll save 5% out of my salary, out of my paycheck every week and put that in my 401k, and then the employer will match that and put 5% of their money, into it. This is just 100% employer funded.
The wages being higher, but here, on top of whatever salary or hourly rate you make, your employer has to pay a minimum of 9%, sometimes they'll pay more, into a fund. It's called your super fund or superannuation. Pretty much what this fund does, you can pick which one they...
I think it's a great, excellent system, but I almost can't help but open up a can of worms. A question. Would you, as the employee, prefer that 9%? Say you make 50 grand a year, they're putting $4,500 every year into your super. Your employer is putting that. Would you rather them do that or take that money into your salary, get paid $54,500 a year? And obviously, it's probably for the best to put it into your super, right?
Put the money into. But what it does,
and you get tax benefits and stuff,
is it gets invested over your entire life. So they say like you should save 10%. Well, in Australia you could blow every single penny you've ever earned, ever made, yet whenever it's time for you to retire, you will have pretty much 10%, 9%.
That is pretty amazing.
Of everything you've ever made invested, and you get it when you retire. This is really smart for a couple reasons. One is it pretty much guarantees everyone some sort of retirement fund, and overall I think it's just a really...
Well, you guys, I don't really know this, but I assume you guys have Social Security. You have to, or do you? I don't know. I guess I shouldn't assume things. Just feels like, yes, you do have Social Security. So you get that on top of your super. You get your super on top of that. Whatever.
Good program that we could adopt in America. All right, so this is the last one. I'm on to number 10, and notice that I'm not gonna say guns. I can get into the healthcare debate, but I just don't want to talk about guns because it's always a point of conflict and political debate, which I just don't really want on this channel. I was already a little weary talking about healthcare, but whether you think their more strict gun laws are a good or bad thing here, comment it in the section below. I'd love to hear your...
I thought you didn't want to talk about it.
Opinion and your reasons behind it. I grew up in Texas. I've been exposed to guns my entire life. I've shot guns my whole life, so I'm comfortable with...
I'm still not even talking about it because I thought we weren't talking about it.
Them. Yet at the same time, I do actually feel safer here in Australia, where there aren't really any guns. I mean, there still are guns, but it's like nothing like in America. So yeah, I just want to hear y'all's discussion below. Now the actual last one, number 10, is that here in Australia, it is just way more international, and I feel like it's more accepting of other lifestyles, or I should say like alternative lifestyles. Not even alternative. Just anything that's not like the status quo, like the typical thing to do. Yeah, I just feel like you can be yourself here more without having judgment. I think.
Interesting. I wish he would elaborate slightly, because that's an intriguing point that I have not heard. You know, I've heard some of these other ones, but that's one I haven't heard. Alternative lifestyle. I mean, it's not like it's the first time I'm hearing these terms. But, you know, I guess the most common example of that would be like LGBTQ, which I could see. I mean, America's come a super long way on that issue. Super long way. That's interesting. But it seems like he's almost being more broad than that, you know? That's why it's interesting to me. It doesn't seem like he's just talking about that. He's saying, you can be whatever you want. You know, people don't judge you as much. Like in America, people are more so want you to conform. That's interesting. It's interesting because, of course, you feel that. I feel like you feel that anywhere on planet Earth. You get this feeling, this gravity of all the other humans kind of like, you know, in general, people kind of want everybody to conform. And if you don't, then you're kind of the weird kid. You know? But I do feel like, I mean, like in America, it's kind of weird. Like I'm thinking about high school. I feel like that's where these types of topics are most pertinent, because you're in this huge social arena with 1,000 other kids, and you have nothing in common with each other. You know, unlike if you work at a job. You know, if you're a construction worker, then you're working with a bunch of construction workers. You might have something in common. But in high school, nothing necessarily in common other than where you live. And so you get a bunch of cliques, you know, you get the nerds, you get the band geeks, you get the cool kids, you get the athletes, you get the music kids. And then you get kind of the outcasts. And I'm trying to think, you know, is it different? You know what? I mean, this is a strange example, but the fact that you guys wear uniforms in high school, certainly, well, I guess that makes, by definition, that means you're conforming more to each other. But it has a nice benefit of, like, making no one feel as left out, you know? It takes that element out of it. You know, oh, you don't have the cool shoes. I always thought that was stupid, though. I had the stupidest shoes in high school, you know, the, like, piece of crap shoes, and no one ever said a word to me about it. I'm sure some people thought it, though. But screw those people, I don't care. Anyway, I'm thinking way too deep about this.
We're kind of bad at that in America. There's a lot of like expectations of like how you should live. But don't think it's all roses and whatnot over here. There are plenty of things about Australia that I hate. So if you want to see those things that I hate about Australia, click right over there. Or
go check them out. It's a great channel. Thank you so much for watching. I'm still thinking about it all. It's thought-provoking. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.